This is macOS Ken.
Bullish notes from Wall Street, updates on the horizon, and talk of a talkative Tim Cook. It's Friday, the 11th of December, 2020. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get a free home security camera when you purchase a SimpliSafe system at simplisafecom/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Squarespace, your place online. I am a big believer in Squarespace. It's great for building a website with no experience required. I had my first Squarespace site up within a couple of hours. Just because it's easy, though, doesn't mean it's not powerful. I've heard from people who have been amazed at the uptick in their traffic when they switched to Squarespace and put its search engine optimization tools to work. Why do I believe in Squarespace? It's a great collection of tools waiting for you to make the thing you want to make. You have an idea. Squarespace lets you do it. How cool is that? Almost anything you want to do online, you can do with Squarespace. Find out for yourself. Go to squarespace.com/macOSKen for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code macOSKen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Start your free trial today. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code macOSKen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain at squarespace.com/macOSKen. And a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's show. Apple is set for a record holiday quarter. That is the thinking of Morgan Stanley analyst Katie Huberty. Philip Elmer DeWitt's Apple 3.0 ran part of a research note of Huberty's this week. According to that, Apple is entering the holiday period with its strongest portfolio of products and services in years, 80% of which have been refreshed in the last 12 months. And quarter to date, we've seen a number of positive data points we believe can lead to a record December quarter that is underappreciated by consensus. We expect Apple to beat December quarter forecasts reflected in our 4% above consensus revenue and 5% above consensus EPS estimates. Calling out a couple of products specifically, she's into the continued waits for phones in the iPhone 12 line. She's also seeing signs that iPhone picked up market share in China in October as domestic smartphone makers lost share. Turning her focus to the Mac, she is liking the positive reviews from the tech community for the recently released M1 Macs. Here again, she is also pleased by how hard the machines are to get. Waits for the Macs will likely lead to double-digit growth for the machine in the March quarter, in her estimation. Huberty has an overweight rating on Apple shares. Her price target on the shares is $136. Thinking along a similar line is Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives. Another piece from Apple 3.0 had that analyst issuing a note that reads similarly to others he has written recently. iPhone 12 represents the best iPhone launch since the iPhone 6 launch in 2014. About 350 million of the 950 million iPhones out there are in the upgrade window. It's a lot of stuff that we've heard from him before. Despite the sense of sameness, though, he's more into the shares this week than he was last week. While he's got the same outperform rating as before, he used this week's note to up his price target on Apple shares from $150 to $160. He also moved his bull case on the shares from $175 to $200. Apple confirmed something that we basically already knew on Thursday. Engadget highlights a report from Bloomberg that had Apple saying it is developing its own cellular modems. According to the piece, Apple Hardware Technologies SVP Johnny Sarugi told employees in a meeting, "This year we kicked off the development of our first internal cellular modem, which will enable another key strategic transition. Long-term strategic investments like these are a critical part of enabling our products and making sure we have a rich pipeline of innovative technologies for our future. How did we know this was happening? Well, remember when Apple bought most of the part of Intel that had been working on modems for smartphones? In that time, Apple picked a fight with Qualcomm before realizing that it wasn't going to be able to get what it needed elsewhere, said never mind about the lawsuits, and made a 6-year deal to keep using Qualcomm modems. Then there's the whole Apple Silicon thing. No, it doesn't tie into the cellular modems directly, but Apple likes making as much of its own stuff as it can. So, yeah, that thing we basically already knew was happening, Apple confirmed it on Thursday. Betas for OS updates are coming fast and furious these days. With watchOS and iOS updates due Monday, Mac Rumors says Apple on Thursday seeded second release candidates of iOS 14.3 and iPadOS 14.3 to developers. The company also made public betas available for the first time. Lots of new going into the updates, including bringing the Pro RAW format to the iPhone 12 Pro and iPhone 12 Pro Max. Users can make Ecosia their default search engine on iPhone and iPad. Kind of interesting that, according to the piece, Ecosia plants trees when people conduct searches. The updates bring support for AirPods Max, of course. They bring support for Fitness Plus, of course. They make way for the App Store's new privacy nutrition labels, and they bring lots of tweaks and bug fixes. Now, there is a pretty cool feature coming to Apple Music as well. A piece from Apple Insider says Apple's audio streamer is getting animated album covers in iOS 14.3 and macOS 11.1, which also saw a beta release on Thursday. While the company introduced animated cover art for playlists with the release of iOS 14, the 14.3 release is the first time it's shown up for albums. According to the piece, animated album art has appeared for certain artists, including Pearl Jam, Big Sean, and Future Utopia, according to a Redditor, a 9to5Mac reader, and other users running an iOS 14.3 beta. It's not clear which other albums feature animated artwork according to the piece. I will say, though, if one of them is not Gorillaz, somebody fell asleep at the switch. As for the macOS 11.1 beta, another piece from Mac Rumors says that was released to both developers and members of the public beta program on Thursday. What's new? Not a lot worth talking about, it seems. At least, Apple hadn't said anything about it by Thursday. Mac Rumors figures the beta likely includes performance improvements, security updates, and fixes for bugs that weren't able to be addressed in the release version of macOS Big Sur. It also likely includes new features for the AirPods Max headphones launching next week. Plus animated album covers. Coming soon to stuff near you, watchOS and iOS updates are expected by Monday. Both are needed to grok the fullness of Apple Fitness Plus. Some articles say the updates will hit Monday. Others say they'll hit by Monday. And we might as well go with the latter. More news in a moment, but first a word from Simply Safe, the right way to protect your home. You might think of home security as protecting you from people breaking in. Sure, Simply Safe does that, but it can do more. Fire protection, flooding, sending help during a medical emergency. Simply Safe Home Security delivers award-winning 24/7 protection for as many or as few of those issues as you want. You can either take their suggested packages or order individual components to build the system that's just right for you. And installation is easy. Took me about half an hour to get my sensors and keypad in place. Super simple. If you've been considering it, now is an excellent time to try, because right now my listeners get a free home security camera when you purchase a SimpliSafe system at simplysafe.com/macOSken. You also get a 60-day risk-free trial, so there's nothing to lose. Visit simplysafe.com/macOSken for your free security camera today. That's simplysafe.com/macOSken. And a big thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring today's show. 3 Apple TV Plus stories of a show coming someday, one coming soon, and one you can catch right now. For the Someday show, Deadline says Apple has landed Julia Roberts for the limited series, The Last Thing He Told Me. Roberts will star in and executive produce the show, which is being put out by Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine. Based on a Laura Daves novel of the same name, the piece says The Last Thing He Told Me follows a woman, Roberts, who forms an unexpected relationship with her 16-year-old stepdaughter while searching for the truth about why her husband has mysteriously disappeared. If that doesn't ring any bells, that's because the novel isn't even out yet. It hits next May. No word on when the series will premiere. The second season of M. Night Shyamalan's series Servant is about a month away, and Apple is offering a first look. The Cupertino streamer dropped a trailer for the show on Thursday. Season 2 starts on the 15th of January. If you want to catch a glimpse, the trailer's available now on YouTube. As for the thing you can watch right now, a piece from Mac Rumors reminds us that the animated feature Wolfwalkers premieres today. This is the one about a girl whose dad hunts wolves, and she meets a wild girl and apparently turns into a wolf herself. I won't tell you any more, partly because I don't want to spoil it, and it's pretty much all I know anyway. Well, that and it's a little over an hour and a half long, and it is now playing on Apple TV+. Man, somebody must have pulled Tim Cook's string this week, because he is chatting up a storm. I told you yesterday of his appearance on the PRX show Outside Podcast. Turns out that was just the warm-up. Mac Rumors highlights a Bloomberg report that had the CEO speaking at an Apple town hall meeting on Thursday. It was then that he apparently told corporate staff that most of them won't be back in the office before next summer. Okay, I didn't say it was happy talk, though he did try to instill a bit of inspiration. People familiar with the comments had Cook saying, "There's no replacement for face-to-face collaboration, but we have also learned a great deal about how we can get our work done outside of the office without sacrificing productivity or results. All of these learnings are important. When we're on the other side of this pandemic, we will preserve everything that's great about Apple while incorporating the best of our transformations this year." And finally today, appearing on a podcast, talking to the troops, I guess the only thing left for him to do is address the people of planet Earth. Well, their ambassadors anyway. Another piece from Mac Rumors says Apple CEO will address the United Nations Climate Ambition Summit tomorrow. According to that event's site, leaders across government, business, and civil society will gather for this online summit as the world deals with coronavirus. But the science is as urgent as ever and tells us that we need to limit the rise in global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We know climate change will not wait. Action must be taken now, together, for our planet, so we can build back better. Mac Rumors says Cook will probably talk about Apple's environmental efforts, including its pledge to make all of its products carbon neutral by 2030. That does seem likely, though it would be hilarious if he spent the whole time talking about AirPods Max instead. Or Ted Lasso. Or if he just started rapping. Coming up in a few minutes, Mac Voices host Chuck Joyner steps up to spin the wheel of stuff. Who's his favorite movie bad guy? Who's his real-life hero? What one novel does he think we all need to read? Find out on the show in a few minutes. Available wherever you get podcasts or on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/KenRay. Yesterday on macOS Ken Live, we kicked around the EU's demand for more European content in streaming services. That and my sudden resentment of contact tracing apps. Oh, it's cool. I'll use the one I have. I don't like it, though. You can catch a replay on my YouTube channel or download the audio podcast, macOS Ken Live, wherever you get podcasts. Also wrapping up the week with the live thing one more time, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. I would love it if you joined us then at youtube.com/KenRay. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Squarespace. Get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with offer code macOSKen at squarespace.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get a free home security camera when you purchase a SimpliSafe system at simplisafecom/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.